What's up, y'all? It's your girl Aaliyah Lynette, and I am back with another video, y'all. I hope y'all have been well. Coming through with a little message for y'all for today, and that is to give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace. I feel like sometimes we can be presented with certain situations and scenarios to where our patience is being tested. You know, we're being presented with opportunities to do things different than we would do in the past. One thing about it, as you're growing in life, maturing, changing, and evolving, you have to show yourself some grace. You have to let it click and get through your mind that you're not gonna be perfect and have everything together. That is not realistic. And if you're trying to hold yourself up to a standard, thinking you're gonna get there and it's gonna happen overnight, you're gonna let yourself down, man. When you're in the midst of change and growth, you have to be willing and open to allow yourself to receive that change and growth. So, you know, I hear people say, oh, like, I want to change and I want to grow. I used to be like that. I'm like, okay, I know I need to change. I know I need to grow. We feel like when we need to change, evolve, or grow, we have to just do it on our own and have it all together and look at other people for reference. But one thing about it is how change and growth looks for you versus how it looks for another person may be completely different. I think the main thing about change and growth is about giving yourself grace, being patient with yourself, knowing you're gonna fall short, knowing you're gonna make mistakes. You know, just because you're growing, you're changing, you're healing, you're evolving, doesn't mean that you're not gonna experience bad times or low points in life. You're always gonna have to grow, you're always gonna have to change, and you're always gonna have to evolve. In the way that you do that, in the way that that presents itself to you, shouldn't be compared to the next person. A lot of times people can find themselves comparing their journey, their lives to, you know, the next person, when in reality they're not meant to be compared at all. Your journey and what you're going through is meant for you. That's why everybody says, like, your life, your journey, your path is unique to you. It's all about being patient with yourself, and not only being patient, but being open enough to give yourself grace. One thing God always lets me know is that grace is given. It's not something you should just automatically have. God doesn't expect you to know everything and have everything together. You have to be open enough to have and receive that grace, in a sense of, it's so easy for, you know, us to be shown grace. We always ask people, oh, forgive me, be patient with me. And, you know, we ask all these things of other people, yet when we're presented with scenarios or opportunities to show that grace to people, we don't do it. We're either angry, mad, have a stubborn heart, or, you know, just hateful, spiteful, unforgiving energy towards that person, when that's not how it works. I tell you, the first place of where you can start from a clean slate and a clean foundation is you have to clean up your heart posture. You can't sit here and say, oh, I forgive this person, or, you know, I'm over that, when you're really not. Like, the first part about it is really sitting down and giving yourself grace to confront the things that are really bothering you and on your heart, whether that be, you know, confronting the person and expressing how you feel in that way, or if you're not a confrontational person, learning how to deal and process those emotions. I used to find myself, I never really had a hard time with forgiving people, even the people who did me really dirty and wrong. I just kind of always looked at it in a sense of having to take myself out of that victim mentality of blaming and pointing the finger, and just realizing that I don't have to take it personal. You don't have to take it personal. When people are offending you, when people are rejecting you, when people are being rude and just giving you all this energy that you feel you just don't deserve, learn how to not take it personal. Because a lot of the times, 90 to 95 to 99% of the time, people are just projecting their insecurities, their anger, their trauma onto you. And I've been guilty of that at times, where I've been in not the right headspace mental, and I will take my anger out on people and, you know, treat them how they're not supposed to be treated, just because of how I was feeling on the inside. And we're human, you know, we make mistakes, we're not perfect. There's gonna be times where we are just not the best versions of ourselves, and we show up as that. If you're not doing the inner work, if you do have hate in your heart, if you are unhealed, or you choose to be bitter and angry about things, it's gonna reflect off of you onto other people. But one thing I've always tried to do is make sure that no matter what I'm going through and how I'm feeling, to just not project onto people, because people don't be deserving that. Like, that's why I be taking time to get myself right, because you got to think about it. As much grace and patience that's shown to you, you have to be able to show up like that to others. And until you can really stand on that and show up as that, it's not really holding any substance. You know what I'm saying? Give yourself grace, and do not beat yourself up, or stop beating yourself up about things that are out of your control. And like I said in my previous video, you have to be open to surrendering and being guided and led in certain situations and, you know, points in life. If not every single day, you know, because there's always going to be a different way we're supposed to be improving and, you know, progressing in life. And it's not going to happen overnight. You have to let go of the thought of feeling like you have to control everything and everything has to be perfect, because it doesn't. We have one job, one duty, and that is to just be. We never have to do too much. If you really sit back and think about it, you never have to do too much in life. It's when you realize the times where you do start doing too much, where you do try to manipulate and control things and have things move on your timing and your way, that's when things get, you know, tricky and messy. And it's not supposed to be like that. You know, we're just supposed to be still. Something that I always constantly remind myself of, or what God reminds me of, is be still and know that I am God. Do y'all know what that means? It means that you don't have to do every single thing on your own. You don't have to control every single aspect and detail of everything. You don't. You can just be still and be led. You have to be still. Of course, still be open to listening and receiving how God is connecting, choosing to connect and communicate with you. But you don't have to do too much. You don't have to go outside of yourself to start trying to make things happen. That's when things can get messy. I know this message was a little bit all over the place. Sometimes I'll be talking about one thing and then God will just start guiding me to talk about other things. But give yourself some grace. Know that things don't have to be perfect. How somebody else's path and journey in life looks does not mean that's how yours has to look. Just because you see somebody established doing this, and that, and looks can be deceiving. People can present themselves to be living and existing in one way, and it can be the complete opposite. So it's not about comparing yourself to the next person. It's not about going on and trying to revert backwards to what you were doing just to appease to the other people around you. It's not about doing that. You know, you have your own unique path, okay? You have your own unique path, you have your own unique journey, and how yours looks and unfolds is not how the next person's is gonna look and unfold. And I really just want y'all to get that through your mind. Like, don't compare yourself. Give yourself grace, and give yourself enough grace to know that your path and the way your life is going may be different than other people's path. Because one thing about life, not meant to be doing the same thing. When somebody else is called to a certain field, career, whatever, you may be called to the complete opposite. And as we grow and mature and, you know, learn through life, things change. Change is okay. You don't have to be confined and conform to one specific thing. Explore, try new things to figure out what does work for you and what doesn't work for you. Because the more you go on in life, you will realize, like, hey man, like, this ain't working for me. And if you realize that's not working for you, you are the one who can make that change. Or you got rejected from a job or from a room or an environment or a place. Don't take it personal. Do not take it personal. And don't always look at rejection and stuff like that as something to take personal, because sometimes rejection is God's protection. Literally. Do y'all know how many times I've been rejected by jobs, by people, by life? Like, it happens, and it is okay. And it doesn't mean you're less than, or you're not worthy of something better, or you're being punished. You're just being redirected, and that is okay. Sometimes people will make it to the top and think that they're established and they're happy, and they realize that's not what they want, and then they have to start over from scratch, deconstruct that whole foundation they built, and start over from scratch completely. And It's like, who wants to do that? Nobody wants to do that. So you have a whole bunch of people doing things they hate, jobs they don't like. They put their lives on hold for, you know, other things. And, you know, life happens. Sometimes we got to make temporary sacrifices to do what we got to do. That's just part of life. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do to handle business and to get through certain seasons. And that's okay. Some people are in seasons of straight survival mode where they ain't got no choice. They got to go get it. They got to grind. They got things to do, X, Y, and Z. But at the same time, there's always that opportunity in that door where you can just choose different for yourself. But the best way to choose different for yourself, I say this in my last video and I'm going to continue to say it, is when you allow God to redirect you, to lead your steps, to guide your steps. And I say that a lot and y'all are probably like, what does she mean by that? It means surrendering. God, I'm not used to surrendering. I'm not used to not being in control. I need you to help me. I need you to guide me. And that is a process in itself that takes deconstruction and reconstruction. You have to demolish that whole false foundation you've built. So if that's the case, if that's a scenario, that's the season you're in, you have to be okay with that and knowing that it's gonna be okay. It's not the end of the world. Give yourself some grace. Extend yourself some grace, no matter what the situation is. Because as soon as you just give yourself that grace, God's able to give you more grace, and then you're able to extend that grace to other people. And I know for me personally, the more that I've given myself grace and I've said, okay, well, I don't have to be so hard on myself. I don't have to have it all figured out. I can be led. I can be guided. I can sit back. I can allow God to work a little bit more. That's when you realize the whole trajectory of your life can really just change like that in a blink of an eye. So something I just want to say also, don't put so much of your faith in your being and your trust in who you are into other people, to where when those people around you fail you, you feel like you don't have anything. You feel like you've lost everything, or you feel like you have no sense of self or identity. You have to create your identity in something who will never change. Creating your identity in connection with God is the best thing that you will ever be able to do, because God is one being who will never switch up on you and who will never change. People are fickle. People switch up and change every single day. So you cannot be sitting here putting your faith into people, relationships, even friendships. I would say don't put so much of yourself into these things, especially if you're not receiving anything, you know, in return. But at the same time, extend people grace and knowing they're not perfect. Don't let people walk over you. Don't let people use and abuse you, and, you know, for their own benefit. Do not let people do that. Just learn not to take people's lack of communication or attentiveness and how they show up in your life or for you to affect you in a negative way. Don't allow that to happen. Don't give your power to people. You know, call your power back. You have free will to call your energy and your power back. If you don't like how a person's treating you, the way they're doing things, then dismiss yourself. Don't ever give yourself that victim mentality that you're stuck, because you're not. And the more that you feel you are, and that's the option you give yourself, that's all you're gonna have. It may seem like you're not being presented with a lot, but you have more than you know. And you have to be grateful with what you have so that you can curate and be grateful for when you get down the line. So yeah, y'all, I know that message is kind of all over the place, but whenever I feel called to just pull over and speak, I'll do it. Whether you needed to hear it or not, whether you made it to the first couple of minutes or to the end, I appreciate you. And I love y'all. I'll be back with another video. Keep going, keep persevering, and give yourself grace. And know that your actions and your efforts are not going unnoticed. God sees, okay? And it's never going unnoticed. Don't think that the work that you're putting in behind closed doors, the tears that you're crying, don't think he doesn't see, because he definitely sees. And one thing about it, the heart doesn't lie. God can read our hearts first and foremost. Our words can say the complete opposite of what our heart is feeling. So feel what you feel. Be sad. Be angry. Feel all your emotions. You're human. You're allowed to do that. But process through that and give yourself some grace and move on and move forward. All right, y'all. That's all I got. I'll talk to y'all soon.